I would love to welcome on stage Molly Simmons, Vice President Precision Activation from Merge, and Heather Chevalley, Vice President Growth from Fluency. They're going to talk about how automation can streamline operations, can deliver better results, and you end up using fewer resources. So I'm going to hand it over to you, and would love to hear more about
Thank
Fluency.
you.
Yep. Do I get a clicker? Is this on? Hello. Perfect. Well, thanks, Fories, for having us. We're really excited to be here. I thought this morning the content was great. I've missed this afternoon a little bit, but I think it really plays perfectly into kind of segueing into how do we operationalize all of these new things that we need to do. So I'm fortunate enough to be joined here with Molly Simons. She's one of our customers here from Merge to talk about the journey of how to scale automation, and specifically in that ad operations department. This morning we heard you have to have frameworks, you have to have audit logs, you have to differentiate your content across, multiple different channels, different audience types, and every single day our teams and agencies are just trying to keep their heads above water. And every single day, there's another ad type, there's another client requirement, there's new compliance issues, governance issues, and it is only getting harder for these teams to do their jobs. I'm certainly not jealous of anyone who sits in that seat or has in the past. And Fluency started out on a mission on how do we solve that, and this is something we all should be thinking about, whether you're working with an automation partner or you're building your own automation in-house, is how do we make the day-to-day better for the people who work for us? How do we de-risk the advertising that we're running for our clients? And how do we keep a healthy P&L? This is kind of what it's looking like for them. There's a million things coming at these teams all at once. They're trying to keep up. Inevitably, there's a fat-fingered zero. Inevitably, there's a piece of creative that gets put with the wrong copy, and hopefully not, but sometimes, yes, we've got an angry customer on the phone. We also may be writing that credit we don't want to write and kind of wiping out our profit for the last quarter on that client that we're working with. So how do we fix that? The first thing that we need to do for agencies, and particularly in highly regulated industries, is how do we use automation to aggregate all of the disparate pieces of information that is needed to compile campaigns, right? So that could be CRM data with the customer information. That might be the creative dam. That could be a media planning tool. That could be inventory data, audience data, internal first-party data. Doesn't matter what it is. It's living somewhere, and most likely today, there's a person going into all of these different places, pulling it out, and then manually pecking it into an end publisher. And maybe you've automated pieces of this, but likely there's a lot of manual work happening. This creates immediate risk in our business, and it is super expensive. This is a very expensive thing to manage because it takes a lot of time. And if we're all being honest, this is not very rewarding work for the teams that are doing it. We hire strategists to be strategic, to think on a higher level, to be creative, to think about performance. These teams are very much thinking about how do I keep my head above water today, and how do I make sure nothing breaks, nothing goes wrong. It takes the creativity out of their hands and out of the job. So if we use automation to, one, assemble and activate campaigns, and then that automation throughout the process. So whether that's using it to analyze, whether that's using it to budget and pace, whether it's using it to make large changes across multiple accounts, hundreds, thousands, doesn't matter. Then closing that loop across channel. How do we, on an hourly basis or on a real-time basis, be pushing that information into a Looker, into a Snowflake, into a place inside your four walls that's easy to access, easy to analyze, and make decisions off of for your teams? So we have been on this journey with Molly for about 2.5 years. And when Molly came to us, she had pretty simple goals that, on the surface, sound like they should be fairly straightforward and easy. They're not. So she wanted to improve capacity across her team. So less people managing more accounts efficiently, streamline the execution for her team, reduce the risk, the credits, the compliance issues, and transform AdOps into a growth driver. And what does that mean? For us, that means how can your sales team confidently go out into the market and know if I sell a $10 million a month budget, $5 million a month budget, that can be activated in a very efficient way where my company is not going to go have to hire heads or change and rework the whole process to support a new customer. That's what we mean when we talk about a growth driver. So I'm going to hand it over to Molly, and what I'd like to know from you a little bit is when we started this journey, tell us like where your head was at and what you were pulling your hair out about every day.
Yeah, okay. So 2.5-ish years ago, I approached Heather and her team after probably hearing about Fluency maybe 6 or 8 months beforehand. There's probably something that a lot of people in this room can relate to, where you sort of are comfortable in the status quo despite its inefficiencies and its challenges, because automation isn't as simple as like, go do automation and it'll fix everything. It's like, how do I even start? But we hit kind of a critical mass and became particularly focused on mitigating risk in terms of our budget management. We were managing really not only like weighty budgets, but complex budgets where, it was within one client and potentially even within one channel, but across multiple different like micro campaigns. And it just got really complex and unwieldy. And so we went back to Fluency after looking at a couple of different partners and decided, okay, here's my one problem. I know you can solve a bunch of them, but how can we address this one problem first? And that was sort of what started the relationship.
This has a delay. So we started small, right, with budgeting.
That's good, in case you swear, then they can bleep you out.
We know that could be a problem. We started small with our team, and we had one other challenge that Molly went out on maternity leave when we first started this project, so that wasn't the best. But we identified champions. I mean, it was the best that we love her baby, but it wasn't the best for the project. We identified champions on her team to kind of walk this walk with us and start this journey. And what I will say about anyone who's thinking about automation and operationalizing the AdOps department, you want to take this as a journey. You cannot automate everything at once. You will break your teams, you will break your systems, and because you guys have all been doing this the same way forever, right? For such a forward industry, the operations of advertising is probably one of the most archaic processes still. We're working out of spreadsheets here. Like, we probably are the farthest behind out of any department. So talk to me a little bit about how you guys prioritized.
Yeah. And like we all laughed, but actually change management is 75% or more of this, right? And it was the biggest obstacle for me to overcome, because I work at a relatively small independent agency. We're about 700 people-ish across 8 different offices. And within that, our media activation team is a small percentage. So I had to get the buy-in, get the champions. I mean, everyone's seen also like that change management curve where it's like, yeah, people are excited, and then they realize it's like kind of hard and they don't want to be a champion anymore. And now I think we're like, in the upswing again, which has been great because they've seen the success from earlier days. But I really had to find out, like, how can we achieve this at scale without, I think, to Heather's point, like freaking everybody out. So we focused in on one campaign that was particularly unwieldy. We're in the healthcare space, so we have a lot of healthcare providers in particular, and identified, okay, that's something that we can scale across multiple clients once we nail this, because we know most hospital systems, they have an ortho line, they have a neuro line, they have a cancer line, and we can recreate these successes. And so that's really where we focused in. And we also focused in on search to get that kind of out of the way. Because as far as search, social, and programmatic went, I think folks who are in platform or have ever been in platform here could tell you the budget management in Google and Microsoft can be a little bit of a, I think by design, tricky one. And so that's where we started.
All right. Let's talk about where we're at and where we're going. We were really lucky enough to have Molly and her team up to Burlington this week to have an on-site to talk about what we've achieved so far and where we're going in the next 12 months with Merge. So I'll let you kind of speak to the results that you guys have seen and what you're thinking about next for automation across the company.
Yeah, I don't recommend going to Burlington in January. I do recommend working with Fluency.
The food
Maybe
is good.
Visit them in the summer.
The food's good.
No, so I think in parallel to our evolving relationship with Fluency, our agency is undergoing an evolution, just like many of yours are, just like Stagwell was talking about in the morning. We're repositioning the way that we go to market to mitigate the issues that are coming up with commoditization, to figure out new revenue streams, and also to transform all of our media planners into really hybrid analysts, strategists, and technologists. And so going up to Fluency this week and having kind of our strategy session was really inspiring because it's given us a roadmap to replicate the success that we've seen within the search campaigns and social campaigns and really activate all of our media now moving forward from one standard source of truth. So instead of creating a media plan and then sending it off to the specialist teams and having them all kind of reverse engineer their platform setup to match that media plan, we'll be able to create the plan and a source of truth talk but made of data, with actual Lego bricks of data, and push that directly into the platforms. And so we're not really leaving it up to the subject matter expert who, is their own artist with their own set of paintbrushes. It's a bit more prescriptive. It saves them time. It manages our risk and also brings our speed to market to a better place that our clients, I think, now expect.
So what outside of what we've done so far, where do you think the greatest impact internally is going to be for your teams as we think about kind of these broader playbook structures?
I think it's going to help us keep pace with where the market is going. I mean, I don't think we really had the choice to begin the process of automation, and I truly felt like if we didn't start when we started, even though bad timing with the baby, I guess. I feel like if we hadn't started then, we would already be behind. I also think that we will be better off as we reskill or upskill our teams into this, again, hybrid strategist, technologist, analyst role. Getting them comfortable navigating data sets is crucial. I think that the members on our team who I will worry most about are those who aren't, wrapping their head around the functionality of these platforms and automation, because automation, really strong automation, is what powers really strong AI outputs, right? And we're not going to be able to even crack the AI thing if we can't get the automation and the data structure down right.
That's awesome. Oh, I left my clicker. All right, so we'll kind of wrap up here and then maybe have a couple minutes for QA.
We have a lot of time for QA.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
Proud of you.
I usually run over. So I think for anyone out here that's thinking about going in this direction, one, you should think of automation as your AI enabler. AI is great, right? AI is the creative engine. It comes up with the cool ads. It helps you create the ad copy. But what automation does is it enables the AI to get to the place where you want it to go. So the first step in thinking about automating anything is your internal systems and processes. Are they documented? Is your data clean? Is it machine readable? Because anything that is automation has to be machine readable. Automation can't read what's between your ears, and it can't read what's in an email. So it's got to be standardized and documented. But what that creates for you is when you work with a platform like we have, or one that you've built yourself, it becomes everything that pushes into it and pulls back in from the end publisher becomes your system of record, right? Which makes a really strong case for strong analysis to make decisions on go forward, whether it's for a client or for agency strategy in general. what we also want to do, and as you're thinking about how does my team change, it's one of the things that Stagwell said so great this morning, is that how do my teams work differently in this new world? You should be hiring people who are thinking about value creation, not thinking about managing tasks, right? That is what we pay those people for, is for their minds, not for button clicking and pecking. Right? We want to pay those people. I think we all agree that we rather have a really strong team of people that feel valued, that feel strategic, and that they're doing their best work than a bunch of people who feel like they're just mindlessly pecking away all day. So the automation is going to eliminate all of that low-value task work that we really don't want people doing anyway. And I would say, lastly, I don't even know if I'm talking about these points. And I would say, lastly, is it's a new way of doing, it's a new way of being, it's a new way of operating, and it's you have to throw out the old playbook. You have to throw it out and you have to start over. And you always have the core things that make you unique, but how, from a strategy perspective, can you look at automation and say, how do we make automation, which is you're gonna use AI with that, but how do we make automation our superpower and make it scale the best of the people that we have here in-house? 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing thoughts?
I mean, just to agree, I mean, coming from the agency side, I would underscore that, like, we're preparing our teams to build an entirely new agency within, our existing model, but not necessarily our existing framework. And I think that change management piece really just cannot be overlooked, and it's reassuring our teams that we're not trying to replace them, we're trying to revive, their path and their career path, and that it should be seen as empowerment, because they're going to be able to spend their time and use their brains thinking about cool stuff, not about, oh my gosh, it's 2 a.m., I just woke up, did I remember to pause that budget, or did I traffic this incorrectly? And I think that's for the betterment of the agency entirely. So I'm excited for our teams, and it's been great so far, so I'm excited for continued success.
Yes, continued success. And I think, since we have a couple minutes left, one other thing I would encourage your teams to think about if you're going down the automation journey is, when you can automate, you can turn any piece of data into advertising. So if you work with hotels and you want to activate data based on a forward-looking occupancy rate, if you want to turn on and off ads based on inventory that's available, if you want to turn on and off ads based on the weather in a certain region, or change the messaging, or change the budget, automation allows you to do those things, right? So you start in a place where you say, how can I just make my operation better? But then what the journey leads you on is to think differently about data that you can access and that it can be monitored to make changes in real time to advertising for your customers, which will, in the end, become more performant, you become more sticky, and it's a differentiator in the market, because there is not a lot of people that can do it, and nobody can do it in real time. So that's the other thing, is like, that's the long tail of the automation, is now what can you do with the data at your fingertips that can be provided. So that's the last thing I would mention. So if anyone has any questions, happy to take any.
Excellent. We have one. We have time for one. We have more than one. Molly, you started to speak to this, especially kind of in your wrap up there. Maybe I'll change a little bit. How's your team responding to the changes?
Yeah, honestly, no, they are excited now. They weren't all excited right away. And I think completely candidly, there were moments where we were like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. And it's because it really involved a hard look in the mirror at our process, which we still do today. Like, we onboarded with Fluency 2.5 years ago. On Monday, we had another hard look at our process. And I had people from Heather's team saying, why do you do this that way? It seems super inefficient. And so it requires, an introspection that can be uncomfortable, and a change in the way people are handling their day-to-day. But when they understand and when they see it succeed, it becomes, an open door for opportunity. I think you always have champions, and then you always have fence sitters, and then you always have, folks are like, heck no, I like the way I work. I know what to do every day when I show up to work or when I turn on my computer. And you're just going to have to face that. But that's kind of, that's change management 101, right? Find your champions and hold on to them and empower them, and they'll really help you along.
Great. Thank you both.
Thank you.